Hey guys, I'm very excited to bring you today's shave. Today I'm using Voices, our collaboration between the Lather podcast and House of Mammoth, coming right up. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me for today's shave. You're about to join me for my very first use of this collaboration we did as the Lather Talk podcast with House of Mammoth, and that is Voices. And just in case you might have missed it or things have been busy, we had a podcast episode with Ben from House of Mammoth on, talking about a little bit behind the scenes, how this came together. This soap really is, besides a scent that was really fun to work with, Ben created this one from scratch. We also have a very important organization and cause that we just want to bring awareness to. So proceeds, a portion of the proceeds from all pieces of Voices, which is the shave soap, the aftershave splash, aftershave balm, and a fragrance, also a shave brush, which I'll talk just a little bit about. A portion of the sales are going to Stop AAPI Hate, and that stands for Asian American Pacific Islander. And just in short, again, we go into this much more in detail on the podcast, but since the COVID pandemic, there is a rise in hate against Asian Americans, hate crimes. You may have seen it on the news or you've seen headlines about all these cases of like Asian elderly citizens just being attacked in the streets. It was certainly a crazy time. These are crazy times we live in, but that threat was very real. So Stop AAPI Hate is a great resource for folks in the Asian American community to get assistance, resources, legal counsel, all that good stuff. It's also a great place if this is if the first time you're hearing about it, it's a great resource for information. So check down in the description below. I'll leave a link to stopaapi.org. You can find out more about the organization, but that's large part why we got this project together, to be able to help them financially, but also the whole awareness aspect. So with all that in mind, this has been a very personal project. It has been a very fun project. At the time of this recording, people are just receiving their orders now for those who got on top of it. This has not sold out yet, so in case you are on the fence or just want more information about what Voices is all about, maybe this video will give you that information, hopefully so. Alright, so before we get into the shave, let me just show you what we're using today. So of course, there's the aforementioned soap for Voices, the aftershave splash. As I mentioned, there's also a balm, but I typically like keeping an unscented balm around to finish the shave with afterwards. And I typically, when I match a scent, go for the splash. So that's here. Also, I know in the past, you guys have expressed interest if I do have the fragrance for the set to include that as well. So I'll do a little spritz of the eau de parfum for Voices. You can see all the matching labels. Given the color scheme, I thought an appropriate razor would be the Mammoth 34G. This is loaded with a Gillette Silver Blue blade, and this will be the second use of said blade. Nice little variation on a great starting razor, just all around workhorse. Everyday driver of a razor, Mammoth 34. So whether you got the G, you got the C, great two-piece right here. Last but not least, I did mention there were brushes as part of this drop, and I wanted a little time just to talk about the artisan who helped us with the brushes this time. The brush I'm using is not the ones he turned for the drop, but it looks very similar with the kind of the black top and a wood bottom. This one is from Chisel and Hound. This one came from a time, it's a group buy of a brush when Rob was known as That Darn Rob, but he's now known as Chisel and Hound, turning beautiful pieces. When he found out about the project, he offered his time and services, and I turned out some great brushes using mango wood. So the portion there, it's a little different in color. Beautiful brush, very classic looking too. And I'll make sure I'll drop a picture in here. But the other thing I wanted to mention about Rob and Chisel and Hound is that unfortunately, due to some hackers and just just bad stuff, he has lost control over his, I believe, both the Facebook page and Instagram account. And just being an artisan, he does this full time. That is a big free marketing tool that's not available to Rob anymore. So viewers, if you are familiar with Rob and his work with Chisel and Hound, and you want to stay on top of new brush drops and just general news, I really want to encourage everyone to sign up for his email newsletter. You can go to the link chiselandhound.com. I'll be sure again to include it in the description below. All the links that I mentioned are in the description below. But because that way of announcing new things and new brushes has been taken away from him pretty much, this email newsletter is one of the few ways that he can inform customers and those interested. So please be sure, please do me a huge favor. It would mean the world to me if you could help support him. He's a fellow wet shaver, member, very much a member of the wet shaving community, on top of a guy who just is turning out awesome brushes. All right, so let's move on to the scent notes for voices, and we have mango, pandan, sticky rice, coconut, milk, vetiver, orris, and wood. And also, while I'm working on the face lather, let me tell you a little bit about the scent strength and all that good stuff. So off the tub, and even just upon lathering here, I'm getting a medium to medium strong scent strength. Lately, I don't know about using the whole numbers because I feel like I rarely say anything like a 9 or 10, because truth be told, if something was a 9 or 10 scent strength, I don't actually want anything that strong. So I'm not sure what my scale really should be. So instead, I think we'll go with light, medium, and strong, and kind of use that as a gauge. So this is medium to medium strong. You definitely, it's not a shy scent. Mango is really, that was where this scent started, but it's not necessarily a straightforward mango. I will say this is a gourmand scent. It's going to remind you of food. In fact, mango sticky rice, a Southeast Asian popular dessert, is really the direction we went. So you'll actually get notes of that rice, sticky rice, or steamed rice, which you would think is a really subtle note, but I'm totally picking up on that. And one thing, this is firmly a gourmand scent, but oftentimes for those who are into fragrances like myself, gourmands tend to lean sweet to super sweet, kind of desserty, not necessarily for everyone. I would say we were very conscious of not making this scent too sweet, but given everyone's different preferences, so for me, it's just right, but I do understand this might be on the sweeter side for some folks. And what is trying to balance out the overall scent here are some of those base notes of vetiver, orris, and wood. For sure, there's kind of a woody earthiness to kind of ground this and give it a little bit more complexity as well, which veers more into the whole fragrance cologne territory. This, of course, is in the House of Mammoth Tusk soap base, which can be quite thirsty. So if you go for a heavy load, make sure to hydrate it properly. I did load a good amount of soap onto the brush today, as I'm working with approximately 4 days worth of beard growth. All right, so while I get started here, I did want to talk a little bit more about the deeper meaning of voices and a little bit more about Stop AAPI Hate, and probably sharing a little more personally than I normally do. So just a heads up on that, you can call it trigger warning if you will, if you do have trauma, unfortunately, due to a race-based incident. But this is my chance to share a little bit of my experience. And keep in mind, this is the chance to hear a first-hand account. So you're not hearing it from secondhand, from a media source. This is from John from Lather. So racism is alive. Just in case those who might not, be so sure, they think that accounts of hate crimes and racist incidents are blown out of proportion. It's alive. And something I'm very conscious of and wary for my family, my wife and kids. And one early example was with the rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans in particular during the pandemic. We're fairly conservative with the precautions we took in the thick of it, not going out too much. And then on top of that, you start hearing about all these incidents that are happening in major cities, New York City, Manhattan, San Francisco, the Bay Area, and other locations, and just a huge rise in these kind of incidences. So in a time where there's a lot of uncertainty about just going out in public in general with my family, add on top of it these rise in hate crimes, it became, an extra stressful time for us. So you might be asking, what are some examples? Well, oftentimes something I've heard since I was in grade school is just random people yelling out, "Go back home, go back where you came from," which I find to be very ironic given that, yes, my parents immigrated here, but I was born down in Virginia. Born as a U.S., on U.S. soil, U.S. citizen. But that's the thing with racism. It's you look at someone's skin, you look at the appearance, my eyes, my hair color, whatever. That they are assuming a whole bunch of stuff. So that was something that even living in the Northeast, it happens. Moving to Boston for college, and that's where I wound up settling. People just mocking you with the old ching chong and Asian really bad Chinese accents, which I don't know. Some people think, oh, just get over it. I've definitely heard it. I've heard it through the shaving community for those who are just random acquaintances who decided to friend me on Facebook, and on more than one occasion, it's what's the big deal? Grow a thicker skin. And I'm not saying there's no truth to that, but that is grossly ignoring what is a deeper problem. And in some ways, invalidating both my experience and all the other fellow Asian Americans who experience this, I don't know how often, but regularly. So bringing it back to this time of increased incidences, basically what it boils down to is people who might not even be Chinese being blamed for COVID and for all the crap that comes along with that. Whether it means, your job status, loss of family members and friends. People have a lot of pent-up anger and confusion and worry, and one way it comes out is through hate and through just some kind of scapegoat or target, or easy target, unfortunately, that can be lashed out at. So where something is oh, ha ha ha, you call something the Kung flu or the Chinese virus or stuff, which you hear, and yes, I am fully aware people, in their daily talk, chit chat will call it that. Fine. But you should also know that there's something coming along with that. There's baggage along with that is hurting me and my community. And forgive me if this is reactionary, but some folks will say, stop policing what I'm saying, the PC police, and I'll use whatever words I want to. And I don't have control over what you say, but I share with you these examples as a way to reconsider. Maybe just reconsider the words that you've chosen. And a lot of times that's what it all comes down to. No one is trying to necessarily police your words, but at least share that, some common names for things that you might be using might be extremely hurtful to someone else. And how easy is it to alleviate and avoid that hate by just using a different term? I don't want to harp on that too long because it's just one small example, but since we're kind of getting into some specifics, there we are. And of course, I can only do so much and talk about it so much in this short span of the video. If this does bring up any, actual questions, something opens up a dialogue to discuss, I'm open to that. I mean, ultimately, this is something where I have the unique platform and experience to speak on. And I think I'll be just doing a huge disservice to both the wet shaving community, but also the broader Asian American community if I've never brought this up. And you know what? I will acknowledge that talking about race makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And I think on both sides, patience and grace needs to be given if the end goal is for understanding. So please, if you take anything away, please, that's where I'm coming from. I'm not here to chastise. I'm not here to rain down some, white guilt. I know that's a hard thing for, some of my white friends, where it's like, am I just supposed to feel bad and feel guilty all the time? No, that is not what this is about either. And also, just to be extra transparent about it, this is not an easy topic to talk to, especially in kind of video format where it's not a conversation, it's me speaking. Hopefully it's not coming off as me speaking at you, but to you, trying to bring you in on the conversation. And also, besides just being kind of difficult to talk about, trying to talk about it and do a shave might not have been the best idea, but I hope the heart of my message comes through. So let me finish up this cleanup pass and we'll wrap things up. All right, so very solid shave today. And guys, if you've made it this far, watching along without skipping, thank you. I really do thank you from the bottom of my heart for just listening to, you probably came for a shave video and you got probably something a little different. There's some shave stuff, but you got a whole lot more than that. So let's finish things up here with the aftershave splash. Give it a good shake. And we're talking about serious stuff like racism, hate crimes, and whatnot. And please know, I'm fully aware doing a soap set like this isn't going to cure racism. That's a much bigger systemic problem. But again, just trying to bring awareness to the topic, and hopefully it was communicated well enough, sharing with you some of my experiences in dealing with it. Overall, I do have to say thank you to the community, to the wet shaving community, for really embracing this release, and for those who have reached out to me personally, just offering their support. I really do appreciate it. It's not just lip service. I'm like, oh, thank you. I mean, I hope the gratitude comes through, that I really do appreciate your support. And in the end, even if this scent is not for you, because it really might not be, but you like the cause that we're talking about, I'll also link, if you want to just directly donate to Stop AAPI Hate, that's great. That's really, that would mean the world to me. So that's always an option too. I do not take it as a personal offense if you do not pick up this soap set. It's not, I don't get a kickback on this. It's a fun project I got to work on. And of course, the aftershave itself, scent, spot on. It's a spot on match. It's not one of those things where it's different. The cooling feels really good, especially these are kind of like the summer heat winding down, so that feels real good. And I can't forget to do a spritz of the frag here. So turn this collar around, give it a spray. This is pretty strong as well. I sprayed this on when I first got the package. Do 2 spritzes. And I will say, again, for transparency's sake, while the shave software, I think it's solid. It's probably unisex with masculine leaning. Something about the eau de parfum, the fragrance, I think actually goes a little unisex and maybe feminine. There's something about the sweetness. There's even a little bit like a floralness to it that gives it a little bit of a feminine edge. But that's not to say a man, could not wear it. And that's also if you abide by like, oh, there's masculine frags and feminine frags. Some people don't give a crap and they wear what they like. So if that's you, then you do you. Like those who are maybe a little wary about florals, that's more who that warning is for. So the fragrance has a slight feminine leaning to me. So I don't want to harp on too long about the fragrance because it's something I had a hand in, creating and making, so I'm clearly biased. So keep an eye out for other reviews if you're doing your research. I do know times are tough financially, so all the more reason I'm not offended if you don't support this soap. If you do though, if you have the means and you pick it up, thank you guys so much. Maybe this video helped you push you in one direction. But just in case you are in that camp, you're wondering where you can purchase this. If you're in the US, go check out houseofmammoth.com. You can get it from them directly. In Canada, Top of the Chain is carrying this. And in Europe, Anticultura. Again, all those links for all those vendors will be linked down below. So that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. I wanna thank you so much for staying with me for something a little bit different, a little bit personal, a lot more personal. Really appreciate you guys stopping by today. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you real soon. Take care.
Today's video was made possible in part by our wonderful patrons. For more information about our Patreon, check out patreon.com/lathertalk. You can also check out our Etsy store and pick up a comfy Lather Talk t-shirt or coffee mug. Find all the links down below.